Hello, hello, hello. I am Jillian Murphy, and I am going to introduce myself in a minute, but I wanted to just welcome you to how not to let your body fall into the deep, dark pit of winter and make sure that you can hear me and see me before I get started. So I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes for people to sort of log in, click in. And when you're here, feel free to introduce yourself and let me know if you can see me and hear me. I'm going to assume that we're doing okay. And I think I'll just get started and we'll see what happens. But again, as you chime in, feel free to let me know if you are here and if you can see me and if you can hear me. Okay? Perfect. Okay, so welcome. Hi, I am Jillian Murphy of the Food Freedom Body Love Method, and I am here tonight to talk about how to not let your body fall into the deep, dark pit of winter. I'll just mention that the presentation will skip back and forth between me and some slides. And if at any point you can't see me or hear me, just type in, let me know. I'll try to stay on top of that. And if you have any questions as we go along, type them in and I'll get to them. I'll get to them sort of like at certain points through the presentation. So you won't get forgotten. Hi, you can see me and hear me. Perfect. So like I said, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section and I will get to them as I go. Great. Okay, so moving on here. Let's get started. So who am I? Like I said, Jillian Murphy. I am the creator of the Food Freedom Body Love Method. Whoops, where are we here? Creator of the Food Freedom Body Love Method. And what I do is I help women stop feeling crazy around food and love their bodies. And so I decided to do this presentation today. I also did it on New Year's Eve, quite purposefully, because at this point in the year, we tend to get inundated with diet culture messaging, right? Messaging that preys on our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, the worries that we have about our body and our weight and how we look, and very purposefully uses those fears and worries and insecurities and pushes us to buy things and to do things. And what you'll learn a little bit through this presentation, but also if you decide to get in on the group program, is how that messaging and the actions that we're encouraged to take by the diet culture actually send us into really negative behaviors and triggering behaviors, reactive behaviors, things that are not actually very good for us. And so I chose to do this tonight and again on before on New Year's Eve as a different voice, right? A counter narrative to the diet culture that surrounds us. And I'm hosting the group program starting on January 22nd as another option for women who are like, I'm done with this. You know, I've done this every New Year's for like 10 years, and every New Year's Day, I'm in the same place, or the beginning of every year, I'm in the same place. And that's the idea, is to give women a different option. So let me just check in here. I just want to make sure that as we're moving along, you can see me and hear me. And if you have any questions, like I said, just leave them as we go. Seems like everything is okay. Perfect. That's what I like to see. So if you can take a quick guess, I've kind of already alluded to it, but what is the number one New Year's resolution every year, right? So many people, you know this. This is not news to you. But basically, you know, feel free to leave in the comments if you have a guess. But essentially, the number one resolution every single year is weight loss, followed quite closely by, being healthier, which typically involves weight loss for most people in our culture. And what is it that women are typically after? Because it's fine to say, I want to lose weight. But one of the things that I push women to do in my work is to actually think about why we want the things that we want. Because so often it's just a given. Like, obviously you want to lose weight. No one stops to think about, wait a minute, why do I want to lose weight? Where did I learn that I need to lose weight? Where did I get that belief? We don't want to lose weight or change our bodies in a vacuum. It's like we want to lose weight in a culture that encourages us to lose weight, that believes thin is best and healthiest, right? And so what is it that we're typically looking for when we set New Year's resolutions like lose weight or eat healthier? What we're looking for is to feel good in our skin, to feel like we've got it together, to recuperate. One of the things that I often talk about is, I'm not against New Year's resolutions. I love them too, right? I love that feeling after a season of indulgence of like recuperating and getting back on track and deciding to sort of make some big dreams for the future. What I'm against is women getting pulled into messaging that's actually really detrimental. So I love that feeling too, recuperating from a season of indulgence. We want to feel open to new possibilities. We're ready for a fresh start. And at this time of year, we'll talk about this in a minute, but especially through the winter, it feels great to have some rhythms and routines, to cultivate behaviors that help us feel healthy and energetic, because it's dark and it's cold and it's easy to start to feel really blah. And to feel the success of sticking with something and reaching our goals. And if there's anything else that you can think of that you're really truly looking for underneath the more superficial goal of weight loss, feel free to leave it in the comments. So that's what we're really looking for. The next question is, do you know how long a typical New Year's resolution lasts? And the answer is basically 22 to 30 days-ish. The stat is like 88% of people have abandoned their New Year's resolution, again, which is typically weight loss or some sort of intense exercise program, by the end of January. And how successful are typical weight loss attempts? Typical weight loss attempts, in the way that you generally think about them, have a 90 to 95 plus % failure rate long term. That's 1 to 3 years. So, if we understand that the biggest New Year's resolution that most women have is to lose weight, change their body through exercise, food restriction, whatever it might be, and we know that New Year's resolutions fail, 88% of them fail within 30 days, and 95% of typical traditional weight loss attempts fail long term, then I think we need to start to take a look at what we're doing, because we lose in this game. And we don't just lose that goal of running every day. That would be easy enough to get over. We don't lose the goal of eating more kale and eating less sugar. That would be easy enough to get over. What we lose are all of those beautiful things that we were really hoping for underneath the goal of weight loss and health and better eating and more exercise. We lose feeling good in our skin, feeling like we have it together, feeling like we have rhythms and rituals, like we feel attractive and healthy and energetic and vibrant. So many of those things go out the window, and they go out the window really easily at this time of year anyway. And so what this webinar is all about is deciding that we're going to do things differently this year, that we're going to make a goal to go after the feelings that we want, to actively pursue behaviors that help us immediately feel the way we want to feel. And I'll just say that I'm going to talk about a lot of things tonight, sorry. You don't have to do all of them. That's the other thing. The work I do is about tapping into our inner wisdom and intuition. And nothing I do is prescriptive. And so what I mean by that is I'm never telling you what to do. I will guide, I'll direct, I'll make suggestions, but the goal is for you to sort of play around with these things, try them on for size, and decide what works for you and what doesn't. So let me just check in here. I just want to see if there are any questions. How are you guys doing? There's only a couple of us. So we have, oh, my slides are off a little bit. Let me just see if I can fix that. There's only a couple of us. So if you guys have questions, or, a lot of other people were on the first webinar. So if the couple of us that are here have questions, feel free to really dig in, slow me down, stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to see if I can fix these slides a bit for you guys as well, so they're showing up better. Okay. So, 5 ways to feel that we feel the way we want to feel this winter. We're going to talk about all 5 of them. Eating intuitively, moving intuitively, cultivating winter rhythms and routines, self-care, and defining our North Star, which is one of my favorites. But first, let's talk a little bit about what happens to our bodies in the winter months. Okay? See if you can see that a bit better. What happens to our bodies in the winter months? First of all, our metabolism slows down, right? Our metabolism slows down, and our body actually requires more caloric intake through the winter because it's trying to maintain our internal temperature. And not only do we require more calories, so we start to want more food, but we start to want heavier foods that are more calorically dense, that are more fat-filled, because those foods last longer. They're those stick to your ribs kind of foods, right? They have a slower heat release, right? Which is what our body is looking for. And, the other thing that's obviously happening is it's dark. And so our vitamin D levels tend to go down. One of the supplements that I typically recommend at this time of year, if you're not doing anything else, is some vitamin D. But we can start to feel a little blue or a little down, a little less energetic at this time of year. And there's 2 things that I sort of see happen at this time of year. Either women tend to completely ignore the fact that it's winter and try to override winter. And what I mean by that is they try to just keep sticking with whatever diet plan is the diet plan for them, or, continuing super exhausting long hours that include getting up super, super early or staying up really, really late to do long amounts of exercise, or just pushing, really, really pushing. And the end result tends to be burnout, or really reactive behaviors. Because if you're not actually feeding yourself enough food that you really need, your body reacts. It gets triggered. It becomes reactive. And then women will say, well, I'm binge eating, at night. Every night I'm binge eating. And it's well, are you actually feeding yourself enough through the day? Are you trying to be a raw food vegan in a Canadian winter? Because it's going to be challenging. It's going to push your body. It's going to be hard on your body. Can you do it? Sure. If that's what you want to do, sure. But it's going to be hard on your body. And if you're finding yourself reacting, you may not be living with the season. Same goes for really restricting carbohydrates at this time of year. Our body likes carbohydrates. Carbohydrates help with lower serotonin levels and that feeling of feeling down, and helps with the increased caloric intake that we need, And so if you are really not feeding yourself enough carbohydrate, you might find yourself binge eating in the evening. And it's actually not binge eating. It's just your body making up for all it didn't get through the day. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I'm going to transition to me and then fix this screen of mine. My presentation conked out on me because I wasn't paying attention for long enough. So there's that. there's the totally ignoring our body. And then the other thing that I can sort of sometimes see women do is feel kind of tired and feel kind of down and feel kind of low on energy and just kind of unconsciously start hibernating without really meaning to. And while, yes, I'm not looking down and ignoring you. I'm trying to get this presentation back online here. And while, yeah, our body definitely wants to slow down, the fact of the matter is we're not bears. We're not supposed to hibernate. And what hibernating tends to look like for women in our culture at this day and age is, too much Netflix, too much sugar, and then using caffeine when we stay up too late watching TV. It's like we get into these really unconscious kind of hibernating behaviors that are not that great for us. So it's important to understand what's happening with our bodies at this time of year and how we can best support our bodies. And to me, what that looks like is eating in a way that is seasonal and supports our bodies, and moving in a way that supports our bodies at this time of year. Like consciously be in the winter months instead of just, unconsciously zoning out. So my presentation is just loading up again. I was off it for too long and it conked out on me. So let me just check actually while it's doing that. I'll just check in on you guys again and see how things are going. Let me know if you guys need anything. I'm here. So let's get into our first topic, how to feed ourselves intuitively and seasonally. First thing, what is intuitive eating? I think that's really important in case there's anyone here or anyone who watches the replay who is not clear on what intuitive eating actually is. So intuitive eating is a system or a thought process around eating, not just a thought process, it's a method of feeding ourselves where we start to ignore all of the, or filter the external information that we get about nutrition and food, because we get a lot of it. We get a lot of it every single day, and it's often contradictory and confusing and difficult to navigate. And, one day we're supposed to be eating all the carbohydrates and no fat. And the next day we're supposed to be eating all fat. And the next day it's, no animal products. And the day after that, it's more animal products. And it's diet talk and calorie restriction. And it just becomes this very confusing, triggering nutritional world. And intuitive eating is all about learning how to filter that information, how to tap into what our bodies are telling us it wants, and to be able to pick and choose the nutritional information that's available that is actually right for us, and to feel confident in doing that. But it's a big process, right? This is a big part of the Food Freedom Body Love online group program that I'm launching in 2 weeks, 10 more days to sign up. This is a big part of it because in order to move out of diet culture, you need an alternative. You need something to turn to. And so this is about getting back to the way that we would have eaten when we were born. It's this innate ability that we all have that tends to get, sort of buried when we're in our childhood at some point, generally by well-meaning parents and teachers and doctors. I already kind of talked about feeding ourselves seasonally, right? Like at this time of year, what our body wants is more dense, warm, healthy, fat-filled, slow-cooked meals. Casseroles, soups, oatmeal, toast. Our body wants warm, cozy, filling food. And it wants a little bit more than it probably needs in the summertime. The other thing I'll mention that's really interesting is the same thing that happens to our body in the depths of winter, in the really cold part of the winter, happens to us in the heat of the summer as well. Like our metabolism will really slow down. The only difference is at that point in the summer, our appetite tends to go down, right? When it's so hot, but when it's really cold, our appetite tends to go up, even though our metabolism goes down. So it's also not completely unusual or unnatural to put a little bit of weight on in the winter. Women's bodies cycle. They do. They do. So I'm not going to elaborate too much more on this because learning how to eat intuitively is a big process. And like I said, that's part of the program that is launching very soon. Next thing, winter movement. So how to support your body's need for movement and a slower pace. What I'll say here is just a reminder that nothing I do is prescriptive, right? So if you have an exercise program and you love it and your body feels great and you're happy to do it all winter, like there's plenty of winters that I have run through the winter. I actually, if I'm going to run, I don't run all the time, but if I'm going to, I actually prefer to do it in the winter than the summer. Just me. So if you have something that works for you, go for it. All good. You do you. That's the most important thing when it comes to exercise. The most important thing for me is just women finding movement, because movement is so invigorating for our body. It fills us with energy. It connects us to our body. Excuse me. It's a really great way to start to feel back in our body and get out of our heads a little bit. But the most important thing is that we don't have a lot of rules around it, right? For me, movement is not about burning calories or managing weight. For me, because it's not really actually that good at it. It just isn't. What it's good for is a million other things. It's good for our mood. It's good for our energy levels. It's good for connection. It's good for our heart. It's good for our lungs. It's good for, there are so many things that exercise is good for. And in the winter, what I tend to recommend for women is a combination of slower movement that allows their body to move at a slower pace, but to stay limber and energetic. So things like Pilates, yoga, especially like a warm yoga or a yin restorative yoga that has some, meditation to it, with seasonal activity. And so what I mean by that is actually getting your butt outside and in the fresh air, ideally under the sun if you can, but I actually also love to do it in the evenings or early in the mornings when it's a little dark, extend my day a bit with just a walk. A cup of tea and walk around the block, or a podcast in my ear and walk for an hour outside in the fresh air. Today we skated. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just like get the kids out, get our skates on. Sometimes we last 20 minutes, sometimes we last an hour. But the whole thing is that, we all just feel better for it. Our vitamin D levels are up a little bit. We've gotten some fresh air and our energy levels are good. So I'm generally recommending, like I said, a combination of slower, warmer, more restorative movement with seasonal movement. Think, snowshoeing, walking. Walking's the easiest thing to do. It's affordable. You can do it anytime. Skating, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, anything that like connects you to the season, I think is really, really beautiful. Number 3, this one is kind of funny. Funny that we get to talk about it today because this was totally on my mind. Like I said, we went skating and we had an amazing time, but you can also hear that I have this cold that I was really managing well before the holiday. But over it was just, wine and sugar and late nights, and it's just gotten worse. And I'm having a hard time beating it. So we went skating and it was so amazing. We had a ball, and then we went out for lunch with friends. And by the time we got home, I was just done, like pooped, exhausted, feeling terrible, sinuses, my whole face was hurting, headache, the whole thing. And so I rested a little bit. I've got lots of kids here, it's a busy day in our house. We had this going on. And so I fell back on these winter rhythms and routines and some seasonal food to like perk me back up. And so a few of the things that I have here, number 1, bring the light in. And so for me, what that looked like tonight was lighting as many candles in our house as possible, and I posted a picture about it, and someone commented that they keep all their biggest candles for this time of year. And it's just so true. In Scandinavian countries, they call this hygge, and it's a very purposeful way to create cozy, a way to sink into the season when it is cold and dark, and we have a tendency to want to, or our bodies have a tendency to want to shut down and feel a bit blue. And candles are a huge thing. They light them on their porches, on their doorsteps, in their house. So that was one of the things that I did tonight. Meditation and quiet. On a deeper level, when we think about the season of winter, also sometimes called the fertile void, it seems like nothing's happening, right? It seems like all the leaves have fallen and it would almost look like the trees were dead. But in reality, there's all of this amazingness happening under the surface, right? And it's like the plants are just taking a break to get quiet and to gather nutrients so that they'll be ready to bloom again in the spring. And we can take a lesson from that as human beings and start to cultivate the meditation and the quiet, and as a tool to get in touch with our intuitive voice, if that's what we're after, if we're learning to intuitively eat, or learning to make more intuitive decisions, or just because it's a way to really ease into what the season has to offer, right? Which is just calmness and peace. Like summer, I love summer, but there is this feeling, especially in a country like Canada where summer's short, where you feel like you have to go, because you don't want to waste a day. If it's sunny, you got to go. And so this is like the opposite of that. And it helps to balance our energies and it helps to balance our health. And it's really, really, really important. So meditation and quiet. The other thing is warm, cozy clothes. A couple of winters ago, I was like hating on the winter so bad. It was about 4 winters ago. And I just had this realization that I had no appropriate winter wear. I was wearing like jeans and not great winter boots and a coat that wasn't warm enough to like drop the kids off at school and pick them up. And I was cold and uncomfortable all the time. And it's super difficult to feel good in your body when you don't feel good in your clothes. And it's really especially hard to enjoy winter when you're not dressed appropriately. And so for me, it's just about, that winter I decided to go out and invest a really small amount of money in warm, cozy leggings. I've got a pair on right now that are actually fleece lined. They're like amazing. They look like a regular legging, but they have fleece on the inside of them and they're stretchy. They're amazing. Some good socks. And every year I make a purchase of either a really good coat or boots. And I sort of like build the supply up so that even if I have to retire something, I always have a really good pair of boots and a really warm coat. Just key. And then warm winter drinks. And I mention it because, again, our body wants warm things. And so often what I see with women is going for more and more coffee. And when I say women, I mean me. What I see with me is I have a tendency to want to go for, more and more cups of coffee through the day. And it's hard on our adrenal glands, which are the glands that help us fight stress and feel energetic. And we need those glands at this time of year. So if you want to keep your coffee in the morning, no problem. But if you have this urge to drink more warm things through the afternoon and evening, it's like experimenting with herbal teas. And, I've been drinking these Citro Boosters, which is like ginger juice with lemon juice and honey and hot water. There's this Botanica does a great turmeric latte that I've been really into recently. It's just about, sometimes just hot water with lemon is all I want. That's what I had with lunch today. And it's just about finding things that actually hydrate us and nourish us and feed that need for warmth without, hurting our adrenal glands or making us really dehydrated and tired. So those are some ideas. Again, you don't have to do all of them, just ideas. Number 4, again, feel free to leave questions. I'll check in a minute. Self-care routines. So self-care is something that we need all year long. I feel like my body needs it even more in the summer. I feel like there's something about, in the winter. I feel like there's something about summer where, being at the beach and in the salt water and if you get to the ocean, there's just something about it where I just always, and a little bit of a tan, you feel kind of glowy and healthy just because you're outside so much and you're moving and swimming And there's just something about it that makes a body feel good. Winter's a little different. And so I really like up the self-care routine in the winter. One of my favorite things is dry skin brushing. It's so easy. It sounds like a really weird thing. I get like a natural brush, like any kind of shower body scrubber or brush. I like the natural bristled one. Get whatever you want. And I'll try to show you. You just brush your skin really lightly with the brush while the brush is dry and you're dry. So like before you get in the shower. And you're brushing really, really lightly, and you're always brushing toward your heart. So if it's your arms, you're brushing up your arms, up your legs. If it's on your chest, it's like down towards your heart. If it's in your stomach, up toward your heart. And it does this, it's a couple of things. It's exfoliating, which feels really good on dry skin in the winter. It also really gets your circulation moving, specifically your lymphatic fluid, which is so good for your immune system at this time of year. And it's just really invigorating, and it's good for your metabolism. So you can Google it, you can look it up. The other thing, hot, cold showers, again, sounds crazy at this time of year to think about cold showers, but it's not exactly how it sounds. So it's a hydrotherapy technique used all over Europe and used in like a lot of the hot, cold, like there's these spas like the Nordique or the Scandinave, right? There's all of these spas around Canada right now where you can go and actually do these hot, cold water treatments, which have been all over Europe for hundreds of years. And I learned in my naturopathic medical school degree. A couple of key things. It's a 3-to-1 hot to cold ratio. So what I normally recommend to women is like have a regular shower. And then at the very end, do a couple of rounds, like 3 or 4 rounds of 30 seconds hot, 10 seconds cold. As much contrast as you can stand. So as warm as you can go and as cold as you can go without it being brutal. And just do it 3 or 4 times. 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. And then the main thing is to end with cold because it sort of closes everything up and actually makes your body want to warm up from the inside out. Get out of the shower, bundle up in lots of towels, put on some of those warm, cozy clothes. And again, so amazing for your immune system, so amazing for your metabolism and energy. And I find when I do them regularly that my temperature actually stays warmer through the day on really cold days. So it's kind of amazing. Again, something you can totally Google. Beauty baths are new to me. So this is something that I don't have a lot of expertise in. I could try to post a link to a beauty bath routine, but this is just about basically, it's like a hot bath ritual that cultivates that feeling of beauty and beautiful skin and beautiful hair through the winter months. So it might be like covering your skin and hair with honey and then getting into a really warm bath with certain bath salts or goat milk, or there's all of these different really beautiful routines. And again, I can post something about it because it's not my area of expertise, but I have done 1 or 2. I think they're really fun to play with, a little less prescriptive, a little bit more beauty based, and just a little bit fun. Essential oils. I use essential oils all the time. At this time of year, I really love like more woody tree scents, like cedarwood, sandalwood, arbor vitae, copaiba. There's all kinds of really beautiful, this one isn't a wood scent. I'll see if I can just show you, but it's like a peppermint and orange. It's called Motivate. And I find it just really, I just rub it on my wrists or I diffuse it. And it's a really good pick me up as well. Sorry, this cough is killing me. And then a massage. Again, all the time, I recommend massage. Having a deep tissue massage, even once a month, will do amazing things for your fascia at this time of year. And our fascia loves to store tension and stress. And as our bodies start to feel yucky and blah and sore and tired, a deep tissue massage, like a fascial massage, will do amazing, amazing things for how you feel in your body. I don't see any questions popping up right now. If anyone is there and you have questions, just let me know. So actually, let me just pop over here for one sec. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, looks all good. All good, all good, all good. Okay. So, oops. There we go. So, last thing that we're going to talk about tonight. And one thing I'll mention is that the first few things we talked about, you know, physiologically what happens in our body, intuitive eating, movement, body image, these are the things that we really dive super deep into in the Food Freedom Body Love online group program. These other things, rhythm, routine, ritual, self-care, I will be diving into that in the collective, which is totally different. It's like the online group program is the foundation you need to start to leave diet culture behind and feel good in your body. And then the collective is this ongoing conversation of how to continue to feel good in our skin and continue to feel good in our body and cultivate health and beauty outside of diet culture, because there isn't that much messaging around health and beauty that is not deeply directly linked to diet culture, right? So much of it is about losing weight and manipulating our bodies. And so if we want to continue long term to cultivate a healthy, happy body image, we need to have a different voice in our ear. And so the group program is about learning how to get out of diet culture and make peace with food and like our bodies. And then the collective is this ongoing conversation of how to continue to foster a positive body image and feel good in our own skin. So, last thing I'm going to leave you with today is this exercise of defining your North Star. And you can do this for the whole year, totally. Or you could even just do it for the winter months. If you're like, I just really want to focus on the next few months, you could totally do that. It's the beginning of the year. If it feels good, you could do it for the whole year. So here's the way the exercise goes. You just grab yourself a piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle, and on the left-hand side, you put my why. So it's like the why for you personally. It's like what it is you want to show up for yourself in the world, what you want to accomplish, what you hope to get out of the year or the winter, what you most want to see happen. I want you to think about how it will feel. You know, going back to those things that we're looking for that we talked about at the beginning. It's like, how do you want to feel? What would success look like? What would having it together look like? What's your ideal for yourself personally? And then on the right side, same thing, but your why for the world. And so this is about, you know, that bigger contribution you hope to make to the world at large. And this is really important because paying it forward and feeling connected to the world at large is a really big part of actually feeling good about ourselves. Body image has very little to do with what our body looks like. And we know that because there are women of every shape and size that have good body image and bad body image. And what it's really about is how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. And so, you know, it's typically not enough long term to just be going after what we want for us. That's important, totally important. But also, you know, what we want to see happen in our family and in our community and in the world at large. So on the left side, you're writing out, you know, your ideal situation for yourself personally. What's going to happen over the next 3 months or 12 months? How will it feel? What's your ideal? Oh, the air in here is dry. It's really getting me. And on the right, your why for the world. How do you want to feel about your contribution to the world? What's the ideal scenario? What would it look like? the end result. What is the end result of fostering even a few of the things that I talked about today? The end result is we are able to access all of those things that we've been hoping for without the diet mentality, without being triggered into negative behaviors with food, without feeling bad if our body's not changing or behaving the way we want it to, without feeling, there's always something for us to go back to. Even if our ultimate New Year's resolution falls apart, there's always another thing that you can be doing to pick yourself up, get back on track to how you want to feel. And that's what I most want for the women that I'm working with. So that's it. I have the link in the, excuse me guys. I have the link with this webinar for the group program. Anyone who is watching this live or in the replay, I would love to see you in there. It is a bit of an investment, time-wise, financially, but it's such an amazing program. 8 weeks, a lecture every week that is a process to take you out of diet mentality and not liking your body. And every week there's a live Q&A where you get to ask all of your questions. You get to let me know where you're struggling and what's going well. And I can dive deep with every single woman who's in the program. Mondays we do the live class where I teach, and then Thursdays we do a Q&A, so you have a little bit of time to process. And there's some homework, and there's taking it out into the real world and using it and experimenting with it, and then coming back, asking questions. And, if you have any questions about, does this work? Will this work for me? It's, you just have to look at the testimonials on my website. It's amazing. It is an amazing, life-changing, worth every penny kind of plan. And I so hope that I will see you in there. I don't see any questions. So I'm going to end for tonight. I will send out the replay. I will